Hey, this is Dancing Rabbit. Welcome to another late Saturday pagan perspective on what is for me a beautiful Sunday afternoon. This week we have a couple of questions, and so that I get them straight, let me read them to you. The first question is from M. Lee 0096, and he writes, what would you tell a parent raising children in an open, wicked, pagan household? I don't want to barrage them with Wicca, but at the same time, I try to be open to Christian-minded questions. It's so hard to find balance giving the outside world that seems predominantly Christian. And from Red Dragon 033195, Teen Witchcraft. How should teens introduce spirituality and pagan beliefs to parents, and how should spellcraft be explained if the subject is brought up? I wish that I had a couple of pat, expert answers to both of the questions that would solve all your problems, but I don't think that such answers exist. I certainly don't have them. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody is different, and what might work wonderfully for one person would totally flop for someone else. You pretty much have to do your own research and seek out your own answers. And you're going to make some mistakes, there's going to be some problems, but that's part of life. You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, and you can't live without making a few honest mistakes. To help you along your way, I have a few recommendations of books and blogs and websites that you might check out. My favorite book that would deal with the subject of raising pagan children is called The Pagan Family, and I'm not sure how to pronounce the author, so I'll just spell it for you. Ceiswrserith. Ashley Ogaya also has Family Wicca and her new book, Raising Witches. I've read the first one, I highly recommend it, and so I presume that the second one is at least as good. One of my favorite pagan authors, Starhawk, also has a book out called Circle Round, and Annie Hill does the music, so if you buy the CD version so that you can know how to actually do the songs and chants, Annie Hill's one of my favorite pagan musicians, songwriters, chant writers, so I'm sure that that's also excellent. In addition, there is Teaching Wicca the Family Way by Megan Martin and Growing Up Pagan by Rain Hill. A couple of the blogs that I recommend are Pagan Dad, which I regularly read, and Confessions of a Pagan Soccer Mom. If you're talking about very young children, then there is an e-zine called Puka Pages, which is really good. If we're talking teenagers or preteens, I really don't have a book to recommend for girls. There are quite a few out there, but they tend to either be rather fluffy or to major in spellcraft rather than the religion itself. If we're talking a young pagan man, I would highly recommend my own book, The Way of the Horned God. Though Sons of the Goddess, in my opinion, is a really close second. The books are quite different. Mine deals more with outdoor, manly type stuff, and Sons of the Goddess is a more traditional indoor Wicca and spellcraft type book. But it's really good. I almost didn't write my book when I noticed it had come out. The problem, though, with all of those books, even mine, is that the assumption is that the young person is going to be pagan, is going to self-identify as pagan or Wiccan. Now, if this is not your goal, if you want to leave the door a little bit more wide open, or you feel like Annie expressed in her video that saddling a young person with the label, even the self-applied label of pagan or Wiccan, might not be a good thing. it would either put the young person in the position of having to sneak around from friends and relatives and schoolmates and be secretive about this stuff. And if you, a parent, are still very much in the closet, you're depending on your child not to out you. That seems to me to create a really uncomfortable tension. The other problem, even if you are completely out of the closet, it may set your child up for persecution, which could be a good learning experience on the one hand, or could potentially be quite negative on the other. So, if you're wanting to strike more of a middle ground and not specifically set out to raise a pagan child, my suggestion is to go to the Unitarian Universalist website at uua.org, do a congregational search, and if there's a Unitarian Universalist church in your driving area, go to it, visit them on a Sunday morning, stay for the coffee hour or brunch and talk to people. Pick up some pamphlets and consider joining. UU churches are officially pagan welcoming. There are even a couple of UU churches that are primarily pagan. Some of them are more liberal Christian oriented and you might feel less comfortable there. However, the Unitarian Universalist principles, and let me get my hymnal open here, principle number 4 says that we, the members of the congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. So if that's what you're interested in your child getting, rather than a steady diet of paganism, I suggest that you go to a UU church and enroll your child in their religious education program. They'll be exposed to a wide variety of religions specifically, and to the idea of religion and ethics and practical action in general. They'll be around other children their age. If they're a teenager, they'll have a chance to join the YRUU, which is the Unitarian Youth Group, and go to rallies, meet other Unitarians from around your state or your region. They'll have something very much akin to a normal church experience. And if you need to tell someone what church you go to because they're trying to get you to go to theirs, then you have a ready answer. I go to First Jefferson Unitarian Church. And most likely they won't know what sort of church that is really, but they'll be too embarrassed to ask, so that'll satisfy them. The Unitarians have a most excellent coming of age curriculum for the 8th graders, and each 8th grader is expected at the end of that class, at the end of the year, to have written a personal credo statement, which they'll present to the congregation about what they personally believe. And it's absolutely wide open. You'll have young people who are liberal Christians, who are staunch atheists, who are pagans, Buddhists, whatever. Or just, I'm not really sure what to call it yet, but this is what I believe that I should live like. This is what my life is going to be like. It's a really excellent learning experience. And even if you are going for a little bit more raising witches, it's still a great place to go to grow your spirit and to be around other open-minded people. Okay, in answer to the second question about the Pagan Teen, my thought is that you should be as open as possible with your parents. That the idea of sneaking around and doing your paganism in secret because your parents don't understand is wrong. It builds yet another barrier between you and your parents. However, I don't think that this means that you must, right now, today, come out to your parents and say, I'm a witch. I've decided to be a pagan. I'm not a Christian anymore. I'm a Wiccan. This is probably the wrong approach. Well, this is definitely the wrong approach, unless you're just trying to shock them and get them angry with you. What you say to your parents, how you say it, and when you say it really will depend on your parents and your relationship with them, and you know that a whole lot better than I or anyone else. One of the suggestions that I make in my book for teenagers who are not able to be honest immediately with their parents is to practice paganism openly in front of your parents, but not obviously. There are so many things that you can do. I mean, I'm a pagan, but I probably don't spend more than a couple of hours a month in circle. The rest of the time I spend out in the world being a pagan. In fact, one of my good friends from Arkansas used to call me the everyday pagan, because my version of it was very ordinary, very a part of my life, part of my lifestyle. And so as a young person, if you spend time with nature, hiking, walking in the woods, gardening, raising houseplants, if you do like Witch Miner and create sacred space in your room by doing a major room cleaning, I don't think your parents are going to become alarmed. And this is paganism. You can celebrate the Wheel of the Year even at a Christian church. I mean, midnight mass on Christmas Eve is really very, very pagan. Most of the pagan holidays have Christian holidays that correspond with them, or they're like Groundhog Day, and it's not really something you're going to celebrate at church, but if you do a major spring cleaning on Groundhog Day, present your mom with some crocus or hyacinths, I can't imagine that she's going to become alarmed or ground you forever. The problem that most people have is that they get most of their knowledge of paganism from books and from websites, and even wonderful books like my own can leave you with the impression that the main thing paganism is about is collecting your altar tools and doing spells within a cast circle. And this is absolutely the furthest from the truth. Yeah, casting circles is important, and spells is important, and celebrating the Wheel of the Year in circle is a big deal, and it probably differentiates us from a lot of other religions, but it is not the main part of paganism. If you feel like you need to do a more formal ritual, there are all kinds of ways you can do it in a sort of a hedge witch, kitchen witch fashion, where you're using ordinary objects, a butter knife, a coffee cup, a saucer, as your altar tools, and it works quite well. You can use your hands doing mudras in place of your altar tools. Your very most important pagan tool is your mind. I really enjoyed Scott Cunningham's Circle of Stones that he has in Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner, where basically you're sitting in a meditative position and you're visualizing the circle forming around you. You're visualizing the 4 quarter stones. You're visualizing the god and the goddess. And so you basically don't need anything except a fairly quiet place to sit and do this meditation. As far as talking to parents about spellcraft, I think that maybe it will come up when it comes up or not. I suppose if your parents discover that you're pagan, they might specifically ask you, well, what about doing spells? Do you put hexes on people? Do you expect to levitate or throw fireballs or something? Otherwise, it may be quite a while before it comes up. So I think when it does, you might even lead your parent in some spell work, something like the Tree of Life, a grounding meditation, something very simple, and I think that they will see that it is really not the evil stuff that the fundamentalist Christians say it is, nor is it all of the flash and excitement that the movies and the TV shows portray it as. I'm really not sure that I have answered your question. Looking at the timer on my camera, I've gone a lot longer than I usually do, and so I'm going to have to try to edit some of this out, and I really don't feel like I've completely covered the topic yet. So, those of you that have other thoughts, maybe something that I've said that sparked an idea in your mind, please make a response video to this one, whether you agree, disagree, or just want to add something. I'd highly encourage you to go and look at the other videos this week, because they have some great ideas. We've said some of the same things, yet in different ways, and we've said some quite different things. So, like I said, hope this helps. Till next time, Dancing Rabbit, wishing you and yours peace.